Everyone, it's author Sandra Wilson here as Kindness Kangaroo, and we're live at the Kindness Kangaroo Library. And today is another Storytime session, and this time we're reading the book The Cherry on Top by Eresman. And you might remember we read one of her books a little while ago as well. I just love to read independent authors, and so when I find the books, I like to add them into our Storytime selection. So we have a new one today, The Cherry on Top, even though it's an author we've read before. A lot of authors write more than one book, so it's nice to be able to tell the stories over and over, especially if we've liked the first story, we can then read another one. So this one's a fun one. It's got a good lesson to learn, and I like it because it creates sort of an analogy that kids can actually understand. Some concepts are harder to understand, so this one, by putting it into the story of the characters as cherries, it makes it a little easier to understand. Now, as always with our Storytime sessions, at the end of this story there will be an idea for a craft. Now this craft takes a little bit longer to do. It does have some specialized materials, so I'll go over with that, and you can always rewatch the story and do the craft once you've got the materials, because there will be a replay and it will be posted on YouTube as well. So make sure you hang out right till the end. It's an interesting craft, it's a fun craft, it's a little messy, but that's what makes it lots of fun. Okay, so let's start The Cherry on Top by Eresman. And you can see the beautiful pictures. It's also a great way to get the conversation started about how fruit grows on trees, how we get some of the food. You know, a lot of kids will associate going into the grocery store to buy food, but where does that food actually come from? So this kind of hints on that as well. So it's a great time to get your story, get the conversation started about that as well. Okay. This is the story of Molly and Polly, two cherries that have been attached together at their stems since they were just blossoms on the tree. See, there they are, they're the blossoms on the tree, which is blossoms first and then the fruit. Molly and Polly, despite being attached, were two very different cherries. Molly was dramatic and outgoing and liked to be the center of attention. Polly liked to take things slow and steady and prefer things to be perfect and proper. Even though they were best friends, their differences often caused problems. While Molly liked to run and be the first cherry to the picnic, Polly liked to take her time and see all the sights along the way. Oh, that's a little problem when you're attached. While Polly wanted to make drawing look just right, Molly was busy making a big, brilliant mess. But they did have one thing in common. They both dreamed of being the next cherry on the top. If you were chosen as cherry on top, you got to sit on the top of an ice cream sundae and be the star. The cherry on top was the single finishing touch that made a nearly perfect dessert perfect. Molly wanted to be the star. Polly wanted to make the perfect dessert. Neither could fulfill their dream while they were still attached. So when Sunday Fun Day arrived, Molly and Polly were very excited. When they got to the front of the line, they met the cherry in charge. "You need to run really fast in opposite directions to break your stems apart," he said. They decided to give it a try, and finally their stems were separated and they were free to go their own way. Polly carefully counted all the sprinkles on her way up her sundae, and it was the perfect number. 100 sprinkles is the exact amount I need for the perfect dessert, she said. "I don't have to wait for Polly. I can just run right up," said Molly as she jumped over the whipped cream. There she gets to the top. But when they reached the top of the sundaes, it wasn't all sugar and sweetness as they had expected. "Isn't it great up here, Polly?" Molly asked, looking to her side before remembering she was alone. This made her feel like she had a pit in her stomach. It was the same story over on Polly's Sunday. I miss Molly and all her excitement and energy. I wish she was here cheering me on, she said. Oh, she's sad too. So both cherries decided to roll back down their ice cream sundae mountains. They found each other at the bottom. I thought I wanted to be separated so that I could shine and be the star, said Molly, but it wasn't as much fun without you there to share it with me. And I thought I wanted everything to be perfect, but it ended up being dull and boring being all alone, said Polly. Look now. I wish our stems were still attached, said Molly. Me too, said Polly. I have an idea. They hugged and then carefully twisted their stems until they were tied into a knot. Now we can be together whenever we want, said Polly. Molly thought it was a great plan. Sometimes we can be apart when we need a little break, like when I want to try out for the next school play. Or when I want to sit in the sunshine and read a book, agreed Polly. But when we want to play jump rope games or enter a two-stemmed race, we can still be together, like we used to, said Molly. It's the perfect plan, said Polly. The end. So wasn't that a fun story about these cherries that were different but had to spend all their time together, and when they had a chance to be separated, they realized that it wasn't quite so much fun by yourself? So it's kind of nice about learning that having people with differences around actually can make the world a lot more exciting. So that's kind of fun story. And I will put a link underneath so that you will be able to find the story yourself and get your own copy of The Cherry on Top. All right, okay, so parents and guardians, this is what you're going to need to prepare for the craft. So I'm going to kind of give you the list so that you have a chance to find these things. And I mean, you could substitute if you don't have everything, or wait until the day where you do have something. So what I'm using for this craft are makeup pads. So they're the like quilted, I don't know if you can really see it, the light's kind of, there we go. They're the quilted makeup pads. These are wider ones, you can get the smaller ones. You could use felt, you could use paper if that's all you have. I just use these because it just makes something different, a different type of craft. And then a paper plate that I've cut in half, and then you sort of just cut the rounded part off so that it's not, so it's, you know, flatter. And you could decorate that plate if you want to. I have a large piece of paper, just so that this is what I'm going to put everything on. So a large piece of, mine's a cardstock because it needs to be a little stiffer because what we're making is a little heavier. And of course we need the cherry on top, so a red pom-pom would be good. Or wind up some pipe cleaner. You could make a pom-pom with some yarn, so some type of red pom-pom or ball. And then I have these squeezy bottles that I put some paint and water in. So it's diluted paint, or you could put water and food coloring. You could use eyedroppers. I found these and thought they were kind of fun. They're a little squishy on top, and then little openings on the bottom so the stuff squishes out. Eyedroppers work, some types of squeeze bottle. It's just something that kids can sort of just put small amount of the water, of the colored water at a time. So it is a little messy, so you probably want to work with a placemat or a drop cloth or wherever you usually do your painting and crafting, because it can get a little messy. And so then what you do is you take your little cotton pads, these little cotton face pads, and lay them out on the placemat or the tablecloth or wherever you're working. And then the kids can squeeze out different colors onto the pad. So this is going to be your scoop of ice cream, and so then you can squeeze out a color, and because it's the cotton, it kind of absorbs the color, so that's kind of fun. If you want to do a little bit more, and again it's a little messy, you could squeeze it a little and it helps spread out the color. It also drips the water a little bit, so just keep note of that. So then on your piece of paper, you're going to start with your plate. You're going to glue that onto the bottom, and then you're going to add your ice cream, your colored ice cream scoops, and of course then you put the cherry on top. So then what we have is our great big fun ice cream sundae, and you see the ice cream is made out of the cotton pad. Now what's really important is after they've painted the cotton pads, you'll need to put them to dry before you actually glue them on your paper. So if it's a nice sunny day, you can put them outside and they'll dry pretty fast. If not, then you just leave them out in your house for a little while until they dry, because then it'll make a better way to put your picture together with the cotton as your ice cream, and of course the cherry on top. Okay, so that is sort of it's a little bit more involved craft because of the materials that you need. If you don't have all these materials, perhaps you could just draw an ice cream sundae that the kids can color or paint, and that would work as well. So, you know, there's lots of ways to expand the story a little bit more. Visit maybe a grocery store and find the cherries with their stems attached together, and then recreate the story. All different kinds of things like that. And of course, go out for ice cream sundae. That would be great fun as well. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed today's story. I will put the link underneath so that you can connect and get a book yourself. And I hope to see you again at our next Storytime session.